There are some strange things about the Rio 2016 Olympics. Now, I don't know if anyone saw the opening ceremony. I did catch some of it. But to be honest, after a while I just looked at it and thought, this is just organised chaos. This looks like it's been thrown together at the last minute, and I kind of gave up after a while because of that. But some of the things that were going on in there, though, at some certain points just didn't feel right to me. I don't know if you saw this part where it looked like a black void opened up in the stage, and we had these shapes being formed by like entities, and it was exactly, I tell you what, it was exactly like that CERN production. Do you remember that weird production they made about CERN, where they had these shapes forming in the black void, like in the abyss? And that, it really didn't feel right to me. And this thing started coming up on the stage in Rio, and I was like, and actually it's pretty interesting because the Olympic flame, the Olympic torch itself, is in the middle of this sun wheel, which they keep showing, every now and then on the Olympics. Just the Olympic flame, is in this Shiva-looking sun wheel, which spins like a solar system around the sun. Really weird, completely new age, like the Zoroaster fire worship. Looks very similar. This the Olympic torch this year is completely different. It's like a smaller version, but they've built this thing around the edge, which the creator of that structure around it has actually admitted that it represents the sun.
The Olympic Committee did not specify the exact design that they wanted me to make. They gave me fairly free rein. We went through several iterations. What we finally decided on was something that is most like the sun in its pulsing energy and reflectivity of light. Something that is most like the sun in its pulsing energy and reflectivity of light.
So this is tying into this whole pagan sun worship, and as my friend pointed out, that fire is the sun on earth to them, to the pagans, which represents the seed or Zerah in Hebrew, which points to Nimrod and Tammuz. No surprise there, considering the whole Olympics is around a big statue of Tammuz, the false Christ, in the shape of a T on the top of a hill in Rio. And speaking of the elements and the elemental forces and how pagans worship these things, the creation over the creator. So we have a lot surrounding fire as per usual, but even the colour scheme of the Rio Olympics logo is representing earth, wind, fire, earth, water and fire. And that is essentially what witchcraft is, the manipulation of elemental forces. So yeah, totally pagan. And something I do find really strange is in the Rio 2016 logo, if you flip it on its side, you can see a subliminal reference in the 2016 to, firstly, the Leo astrological symbol, which I guess we're in August, and also to what looks like the Capricorn astrological symbol. And it's pretty undeniable that these things are there and this occult world exists, and that these are pagan rituals, pagan worship ceremonies, and that the symbols are everywhere, the agendas, the same agendas are everywhere. It just makes you think, why do they do some of this stuff? Well, it's because the spiritual world exists, and these people are occultists, and there's involvement at high levels with Luciferians, pagans, Theosophists, Frankists, Zionists, as we saw in the 2012 Olympics, the whole Zionist ritual that went on there with the rise of the Phoenix in London. And I'm going to cut to the chase here. Solomon's Temple. An exact replica of Solomon's Temple has been built very close to one of the main sites of the Olympics in Sao Paulo. And yet I haven't seen one mention across the media or any coverage, as they show the monuments, the local cultures, and say they want to big up, express what Brazil is about and the surrounding areas and show all of the monuments. I've not seen one mention of the Temple of Solomon, which is a huge building standing at 55 meters and stone imported from Israel. This thing is huge, and there's no, if not minimal, mention in the press. I've seen one article in the past which was kind of a subtle blasphemy at the same time in the way that it was worded. But throughout this entire coverage of the Rio Olympics, do you not think that's strange that they've not even mentioned or shown this huge structure? What is going on? You'd have thought they'd want to at least show it off. Turn the camera slightly to the left so you can see this huge illuminated temple of Templo de Solomeo in Sao Paulo. Considering, the problems that have been there recently with the funding and everything, this, you'd think, is something that they would want to show off. But nope. The lack of media coverage of the Temple of Solomon really makes one wonder, why are they not talking about it? Why are they not promoting or publicizing this to the world?
Stone imported from Israel will line the walls, floors, and the altar. Plans for this temple were drawn up in 2010, but will be ready for use in 2014, which is coming up in just a few months. So construction workers are busy at work, doing everything they can to have it ready in time for the grand opening this summer.
Now, of course, another agenda that's going on with this being in Brazil is climate change and green earth, go green, which I guess is kind of inevitable because it's in Brazil with the Amazon rainforest and that particular area of the world, the Vatican stronghold. But we are seeing over and over, both overtly and covertly, this green earth climate change agenda. See these symbols, these runes flashing up, this broken Nero's cross, which is very anti-Christian, the crow's foot, and it has got a lot of connections to like Nazism, Anton LaVey, Satanism. When it's flipped upside down, it is not the peace symbol, it's actually supposed to be to do with death, but this is completely anti-Christian in itself. It is a broken cross. It's Nero's cross. But these symbols here, this broken Nero's cross, crow's foot, when pointing upwards, because it's like the peace sign this that flashed up here, but when pointing upwards, it's actually a symbol to do with fertility. So again, that birth of the new earth. There are some pretty unnerving things happening in the world as we speak. Some difficult times ahead, perhaps. But above all, trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, who fills us with his strength and peace and salvation. That the more we see these things coming, the more our hope grows that we'll be going home to be with him in a better place. And all because of what he did when he came to this earth. And he's the most controversial figure to these people. They do not like Jesus Christ because they are trying to usher in the false Christ, the Antichrist, and this new age of deception. You know, the stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone, and it is marvellous in our eyes.